The hell? Oh,
And the back.
that was great, Dylan. No, but he's got the quarterback's trust, and when you're playing with Aaron Rodgers and you've got his trust, I think that means something in the fantasy world. I think he's a good. I think he's the handcuff for Adams right now, because MVS is always going to be wide receiver two.
It was a half a quarter he came in, man. We got to see it for a whole game.
Well, yeah, but with Allison going down, and I think with all the drops and missed errant plays he's had, he's moving down in the trust level there. Whereas that opens up.
Well, so was Shepard after slipping and bouncing a ball off his face mask. So I'll put Lazard over that.
I guess from fantasy implications, if I'm speaking like Dillon would speak, I would say if you have an available roster spot that you can have a place to sit, I would pick him up now. Don't spend a lot, but pick him up now if you can stash him, just because you don't know with all the injuries what's going to happen with Adams and MVS and,
Also, too, there has been a trade rumor, folks, that Packers were linked to. One of 5 teams have been addressed on who is trying to get a hold of Mohamed Sanu from Atlanta. Packers are in contact with Atlanta about him. I've been rooting for that for a couple of days now, and that would make me extremely happy. Polished route runner, good hands, veteran leadership, and also he's played under Kyle Shanahan's offense, so he can come in and know the offense quickly.
Now, real quick with Lazard for the fantasy owners, are we thinking a 1-week rental, or is this a guy you might be able to use next week as well?
Oh, going forward, if he shows any sorts of growth or signs, this is a guy. This is an investment pickup. I don't think you want to put him in your lineup for the next couple of weeks. Honestly, I think unless you're really at need, I would flex him or wide receiver 2 if you're desperate. But I think this is a guy, when I look at him, I think you want to pick him up, and just because I think as the weeks go on with the injuries and his opportunities, there's a void at the 2 or 3 spot, because if you're either going to make the 3 spot and jump Allison, or with MVS's injury and just really being more of a 9 route guy at this point, if you can show, like he has been, showing some more slants and dig routes, that your route tree is a little more advanced, he could potentially be wide receiver 2 and jump both Allison and MVS. So I think this is, in short play, maybe not a short-term play, but long-term, definitely if you got a roster spot and you're not in desperate need of having him to produce, I would pick him up and stash him if you can. Because I think going forward, he could be a very good wide receiver 3 off the Packers roster, or even 2.
I'll tell you this. I'm in a 3 wide receiver league that I'm plugging him in for this week.
Well, he is going against the Oakland Raiders too, also, and there is need on that depth chart. So, I said, it's not a stupid play. It's not. There's worse plays out there than playing Allen Lazard and gambling on him this week, honestly.
Oakland has the 22nd ranked pass defense, so I believe Rodgers might take a shot or two down the field with Lazard, especially the way he was able to haul in that 35-yarder last week. So,
and boy, it was nice to see Rodgers looking like Rodgers versus the Lions, because
he was comfortable.
He has 1 game over 300 yards all season, 0 games with more than 2 touchdowns.
Is that against Philly, sir?
Yes, sir.
Yep. In a loss, it absolutely was.
Yeah, I know. I just had to bring that. Yep. All right. No.
And it really, aside from, the last game was 283, so we're getting closer.
But he doesn't need to come out and throw up the 350 to 400-yard games.
He certainly doesn't.
Jamal
but for your
Williams,
fantasy purposes,
yards.
It's nice to see him getting back to form, because you didn't draft Aaron in the 5th round. You drafted him more than likely in the 3rd or 4th. So,
I drafted
he had another
him in the
interception off his receiver's hands or face mask.
Right. That's true,
His last 4 interceptions over the past 2 seasons have gone off his receiver's hands or face mask.
Yeah, he has not thrown a legitimate interception in 2 years yet, so far.
And only has 2 thus far, so, yeah.
So, I think with Rodgers, I'm not so sure we're gonna get a bunch of 300+ yard games, but I do think there is a hell of a
Not with the
lot
running
more.
game showing
I
out.
think there's going to be a lot more 252 and 3 touchdown games. I think with Rodgers, what I'm hoping for, I'm looking for a more predominant 2 and 3 touchdown games, where instead of the 3 and 400 yard games in 1 or 2 touchdowns. The thing that makes me comfortable about Rodgers, and even with Tom Brady, and why I know why our partner Dave here has Tom Brady, you're going to get touchdown production out of these guys eventually without the huge turnover risk. And we all know that's what's dropped Mahomes' point value over the last 3 weeks is the fumbles and interceptions have started to happen on him because he can't move, and therefore instead of getting 25 or 30, you're getting those -5, 6, whatever the point minus is for fumbles and interceptions, and it's like he had 350 yards and 3 touchdowns, and I got 19.7 points out of him last week because he had an interception and a fumble. So you have to consider that too. I consider that big time when I'm looking at quarterbacks. Their yardage and whether they're going to be behind is great, but if they're Jameis Winston, they're going to throw 3 and 4 interceptions every week. Their point value and their yardage and their touchdowns absolutely means nothing. It becomes a wash.
Yeah, starting Jameis is not standing outside the fire, as Garth Brooks would say.
Oh, wow.
Man, I'm certain Arians can't revive him, man. It's not happening.
Okay.
I'll say this. Well, real quick, I would just say that I would feel better about Jameis than Marcus Mariota at this point. But yes, both huge problems.
So, in the fantasy world, Dillon, getting back to some other things, since we've been talking about trades, we do this every week. What are some other players now? And, well, let's consider this, because it's right off the Mahomes anyway, and we were talking about it. Your recommendations for the owners of Tyreek Hill out there at this point, because there's going to be a lot of people that are panicking, so we might as well get to that right away, Dillon, as far as trading and what to do with Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, that's totally fair. If the injury, because I haven't read the reports yet, but I'm going to take Dave's word for it. If it's looking like he's out for the year, then I would absolutely be trying to trade Tyreek Hill.
I mean, that's what that Dr. Chow said. And
yeah.
I'm
and just
Tyreek Hill touchdown.
Wow.
Tutty, thank you.
Yeah, so there's that. Okay, so there you go, guys.
And Chris Harris too, by the way.
No sooner than we start talking about it, Tyreek Hill scores a touchdown. That being said, if your roster can afford it, you should try to trade Tyreek Hill, especially after now seeing he's still capable of putting up a big play. And, Mr. Matt Moore, like I said, what are you going to say? Took that big shot back in the day. Must be really hindering him.
Still is.
You should still try to trade Tyreek Hill. You can get good value for him, and now more than ever, especially after that long touchdown. Guys that come to mind are Curtis Samuel, who just had a big game and is picking up steam in the Panthers offense. And now you have Stephon Diggs, who just had an enormous game against the woeful Philly defense. But apparently in Minnesota, all you have to do is say, throw me the damn ball, and there you have it. Next game, you're getting multi-touchdowns and 100 yards plus. It's just that easy.
Well, there's a theme to that. Minnesota, if Kirk Cousins faces a bad defense or a bad secondary, he does well. If he faces a good defense, he loses. I mean, it's that simple. Bears, Packers defense, they both whooped up on him. I mean, he couldn't even outthrow Chase Daniel.
Here are two receiver names that are pretty interesting to me that you might be able to move Tyreek Hill for. I think if you're going to – okay. The Buffalo Bills.
Hold that thought. Here's a question. Yep. What about trying to move like a Tyreek Hill and grabbing a Devontae Adams and, say, another bench or, say, receiver or running back, just for the fact of Because I know people right now, they're sitting on Adams. You don't know when he's going to come back, but when he comes back,
Right.
it's playoff time. And so is that a trade you might be wanting to look for, considering you're saying if your roster can afford it, but since he's injured, you might be able to get better value on a player that's not injured and productive right now, and then really that would really make the trade boom there. So is that something you want to look at, a receiver that's injured like a Tay Adams, but is going to be coming back within the next 3 weeks or so, and is going to be good when he comes back, but you're never going to, like, if Adams is healthy, you're not getting a trade for Hill and Adams, like, you know what I mean, with the quarterback. But
For sure.
You might be able to pry him away from an owner right now because he can produce still, and Adams is hurt.
Yeah, Adams is someone who came to mind. He makes a lot of sense. Another guy that's injured right now that should be coming back soon is A.J. Green. So both guys I think that are worth targeting. Two guys not injured right now who I think are going to have kind of a renaissance in the next few games. You got John Brown of the Buffalo Bills with a great schedule these next couple of games. If you can trade Hill for Brown plus, then that would be ideal. Also, you have Robbie Anderson. Just had a huge game with Sam Darnold back in the lineup. I mean, we're talking
against New England, though.
Sure, this next
Stephon
week
Gilmore.
is going to be tough, but we're talking rest of the season value.
Yeah, I know.
So, I mean, you've got Robbie Anderson, who 2 weeks prior, right, 4 total catches, 27 yards. This last week he goes off 5 catches, 125 yards, and a touch. So John Brown plus for Tyreek Hill, and maybe Robbie Anderson plus for Tyreek Hill make a lot of sense. And like you said, Jay, those 2 injured receivers coming back, Devontae and A.J. Green make sense to me. Another guy I would think about, you have Drew Brees potentially coming back within the next couple of weeks. So Michael Thomas is a guy you might be able to finagle Tyreek Hill out there for. You might have to give up a little extra because Thomas has been, just fine in Brees' absence. But if you can land him, I think once Brees comes back, you're going to be in a great situation.
Well, okay. Got a question here. I know Hopkins is still DeAndre Hopkins, but
Yep.
They're facing Indy, and Indy the week before just shut down Kansas City, and I mean that's with Kelsey, McCole, Hardman, Robinson. Do I sit him and put in John Brown? Because Hopkins has been letting me down, man. This is like below 10 points the past 2 weeks.
Yeah, Hopkins has been a big disappointment for everyone who has him. I actually do think this week that might not be the
because John Brown plays Miami, and
John Brown plays Miami. You're right, and he should have a nice big game. But Indy doesn't scare me as a pass defense, to be honest. And I mean, you've got to believe that Hopkins is going to come back one of these weeks, right? You just
we all thought
have
Indy
to.
wasn't going to win the last 3 games either, and they won it.
No, yeah, they've won, but you can't say that they really shut down the passing offenses. But man, it's almost a push for me in this scenario right now because you are facing the guy who we talked about, traded away Fournette. I would be going for the safer play because I think you're already ahead. So I would keep DeAndre Hopkins in there. But man, I'd keep Hopkins over John Brown.
Are you sure ESPN's telling me I got 60% negative chance of him coming up? John Brown's telling me ESPN was only giving me 51% negative.
I get it. I totally get it. And I honestly couldn't blame you either way, but you're going to feel like a real fool if you stick John Brown in there and your number one guy and Hopkins goes off finally.
But they're facing Miami.
I get it. Honestly, I don't think you can go wrong either way. So it's just kind of a pick your preference.
That's it, folks. John
Are
Brown's
you feeling
going in.
sexy? Hey. Can't say this man doesn't take risks.
Hey, I took the Jets over Dallas, and y'all laughed at me last week.
All right,
Exactly.
how about this package here, Dillon? I got Devontae Adams, Josh Jacobs, Odell Beckham for Tyreek Hill, David Montgomery, D.D. Westbrook, and Marquise Brown.
Those are a lot of names you just threw at me, but I like them all. I like them all, buddy.
In layman's terms, he goes, I don't know what the hell you said. Slow it down.